Thank you so much. The TVC News Town Square is in session. We had an animated conversation between Kadaria and Mr. Isao Nilu. I want to remind my panelists that they have just 3 minutes to answer my questions. And this time I'm going to go to Mr. GT and Mr. Ikewa as we explore some of the details that now color our lived experiences and what makes a Nigerian. I'm sure you followed the story of our colleague, 29-year-old journalist Sommie Maduagwu, who was killed just about 2 days ago during a robbery in Abuja. At the hospital, we were told reportedly that the staff did not attend to her until they were requesting for an ID. We can't independently confirm that. But I want to read a tweet that what she tweeted in August. And here's exactly what she said. I pray from the depth of my heart that Nigeria never happens to me or anyone I care about. End quote. There are conversations about what these say about safety, about policing, about our value for human life at 65. Mr. Ogunye, does our legal framework protect Nigerians in emergencies, or is this a systemic failure? And how do all of this add up to when young people say, when Nigeria happens to you, now has a negative tone?
Connotation. You know, our legal framework, just to dismiss that question, makes provision for emergencies, just as we have in other decent societies. But there is a gulf between what the law provides and the practice that we see. And I think that our society will get more and more humane if we're able to breach that gulf. If you look at the basic law, the ground norm, the Constitution, it talks about right to life, and that life is sacrosanct. Nobody shall be deprived of his life except as provided for by a law. For example, provide imposition of a capital punishment, or if in self-defense that is justifiable and that the resisting force is proportionate to the invading force. So death can be permitted. But save those clear exceptions, nobody. And there's also the right to the dignity of the human person. You recall that not long ago, the issue of victims of gunshot victims who have been rejected roundly by hospitals came. And there was a legislative intervention, okay? And before that time, there were issues with that. In the case of the lady, God rest her soul, who just passed, it wasn't even a case of gunshot wounds. So why would she be rejected by a hospital where you have physicians who swore the physician oath, or Hippocratic oath as it is called? So there is no good reason why that should happen. But there's a lot of assumptions these days. And I think that we need to be very just to ourselves and to our society. You know, do you know how many people are killed in America every day? You don't hear Americans saying that American happened to them. By gunshot, people will just go to a church, to a supermarket, a mall, and start shooting. And yet, the issue of gun control is a big issue in that society. I've never seen a situation. Look, if I were to educate Americans, and I want to say this about gun, I would say that you are crazy people. Because when the amendment to their constitution, second amendment that they talked about, was written, they didn't have a fully formed military. It made sense for people to bear arms.
Perhaps
America has become a police state.
Perhaps we should leave Americans alone
So
and focus on
I'm
Nigeria.
just saying. I'm just saying.
Yes.
And yet, people will lose elections for daring to say, let's control guns. And they get killed every day. And yet they are not saying the Americans happen to them. So let's look at our society and discuss it. I know that there's a lot that is going on in our society. Thank God you are from Kwara State. A lot is going on in Kwara South now.
Absolutely.
People are being killed. And of course, we don't want that kind of thing to happen. So we have laws in our society. But I think that what we should continue to advocate for is that those laws should operate. And that in case of emergencies, people are taken care of so that they are not left alone. We see a lot of things at our anchor that you see people have accidents on the road. And many people, including Gen Zs that you're talking about now, will take their phone and start,
instead of helping.
So as to post it.
We're going to ask NOA what they're doing about that shortly. But Mr. Ikenwa, when Nigeria happens to you, now means tragedy or joblessness. How do young people internalize that?
Well, that it's quite pathetic. I won't go back to the story because it seems to be that there are different narratives about what actually happened to the young lady. Maybe we're avoiding mentioning one, that there is a possibility, a hypothesis, that she possibly could have been helped by law enforcement agents who were the first responders and didn't get the help she needed.
That's why I mentioned that we cannot independently
verify
confirm, verify these narratives.
But let's take a cue on that, because we've had cases where law enforcement agents were called to the scene, and we had feedbacks like
that they don't have fuel.
We don't have fuel, or you need to mobilize us to come. I don't know what to say about that. That's an example of Nigeria happening to you. But I think I also want to borrow a cue from Barrister, I hope I'm good to call you Barrister JT, JT, that we should be careful about the narratives we push out concerning our country. We should try to be positive, minded when we speak about our country. But we shouldn't also run away from the fact that some things are not just right in our country. And that one of the major things that make a lot of young Nigerians build around their conversations, this mantra of, may Nigeria not happen to me, is that we have evolved a culture, we have evolved a lifestyle that makes us collectively guilty of having the character deficit. There is a problem of character deficit. And when there's a character deficit in a country, in a nation like Nigeria in evolution, what you begin to find in bits and bytes across, different generations, across different strata of the demography in the country is the consequence, which is trust deficit. So to what extent do Nigerians trust Nigeria? To what extent do Nigerians trust the system? To what extent are institutions in Nigeria dependable? Now, that brings us back to the question of what it is to be a Nigerian, the definitional problem. Now, just 1 minute. I think I would want to end this on this quote. I mean, for me, I think the real question should be, if I would identify as Nigerian, and I am Nigerian, I'm proud to be Nigerian, and I'm living I would not leave Nigeria for any other country. I love this country. I had the opportunity to leave many years ago.
Well, I
turned that back.
At least it's not like
I turned that, and I think I'm too old now to start running to any other country to be treated as a second-class citizen.
Well, that's valid.
But for me, the question is, what are the basic things that a Nigerian wants? If we can answer those questions, then we can get close to defining, the issue or the concept of being Nigerian. The Nigerian wants security. The Nigerian wants 24 hours light. The Nigerian wants to reconcile contradictions that besiege our country with so much wealth that we have. How come we have a country that is not able, that claims not to be able to generate as much as 10,000 megawatts of light, but is able to give neighboring smaller countries in the West African region light for 24 hours? We want light. We want water. I grew up in the axis of GRA in Lagos State here. I grew up where you could ride your bicycles around. I grew up where you could go out and, the neighbors watched over you. But now people are afraid to let their children even go to school. People are afraid to let their children go out of their domains, out of their region to go to school. These were the reasons why organizations like the NYC, programs like NYC were set up, and we have fallen short of that. So we need to come back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, how did we get here, and how can we get out of here?
I have a problem. I have a problem.
Let us hear from Kadaria, and then I will come to the DJ.
I have a problem. I have a problem with this thing we want to do, where we want to blame Nigerians for the state of Nigeria without talking about the leadership, okay? If your children in your house today are misbehaving, there is a way in which you will look to the parents to see how did they bring them up. 10, 15 years ago, I remember sitting at traffic lights and watching police cars beat red lights. And regular people standing back, including bus drivers. And I turned to somebody near me and said, very soon, bus drivers are going to stop obeying traffic rules.
That's the norm.
Because the police that are supposed to enforce traffic rules are violating them. It is very difficult to tell people to do what you say when what you are doing, your action, is ultimately very different.
Do as I say, but not as I do.
That is not to say I don't recognize personal responsibility. I'm a big Nigerian. Everybody knows I love this country and I believe in it. So it isn't me saying that there are things that are black and white. I understand nuance. But I also think it is important that we speak to those who have the responsibility of guiding this country to do a better job, frankly speaking.
Okay, so you see, the people you refer to as leaders, they are Nigerians.
Yes.
And so they cannot be different from who Nigerians are.
No, but they wanted the job.
Let me,
I didn't run for
hold on.
office.
We are not talking about who ran for something now. We are talking about who a Nigerian has become, whether he's a leader or he's a follower. And he answered the question himself. Those questions you ask, you have provided the answer. You say character deficit. So whether the person remains a citizen or a leader, he carries the same character deficit to wherever he is. So if he sees police uniform, you know, he's wearing police uniform, if there's character deficit, it will show. If he's just an ordinary barber, it will reflect in whatever he does. So the issue which the barrister tried to establish is that there are laws, but laws by themselves don't make a nation. People make a nation. And people must understand how to translate what are in their law books into who they are supposed to be. And it must be clearly defined. So now, you look at what a typical... let me give you an example.
I just want to follow what you said. Who enforces the law? Because everything rises and falls on leadership, right? Do you expect the citizenry to take responsibility for enforcement?
Now.
Okay.
It's gone beyond the law. You can have all the laws in your country. But if people do not take responsibility, in Nigeria today, there's no duty of care. You may not even have law. But if people have the culture of care, are you getting the point? That lady, unfortunately, may have gotten better response.
Who instills that culture?
Nobody instills. That's why I say you cannot enforce patriotism. You cannot legislate it. You nurture people on it.
And that's what they're saying, that perhaps there's a bridge between narrative and lived experiences.
Yeah.
That you can't tell people to be patriotic. They have to experience a quality of life.
Yeah, which is what I said.
Which inspires them naturally to speak well of their country. And that's where leadership comes in, doesn't it?
You see, both the leaders and the followers have a responsibility to live by certain principles. Are those principles in place? They are in the law books. Are you getting the point now? So they remain in the law books. But countries go beyond law books. They make sure if you go through your school, you encounter the nurturing. If you're learning artisanship, you encounter the nurturing. It is common in Nigeria today. They tell you if you're having a building, you're constructing a building, if you want a good POP, go and get somebody from Ghana or Cotonou, because they will give you a better service. But they are not better skilled than our artisans. What they have is the attitude to work, and our people don't have it. So it comes to character.
Some of our people, not the generality of them.
Yeah, but majority. That's why we are where we are.
But Nigeria wasn't always like this.
Governor,
so you have to ask yourself, sorry, Mr. Onile, Nigeria wasn't always like this. There was a time when you could be proud of our artisans. when we were producing, these young people, there's a part of me that feels really bad about their experiences because they can't look back, they can't imagine a functional Nigeria. Yeah. We all lived in a Nigeria that was relatively functional. No, let me finish. Let me finish. And the reason that Nigeria was relatively functional, I think, it lies in the fact that, yes, we had values, but those values were also being modeled. It's like
fantastic.
They were being modeled, right? But now what you have is a situation where a child who has never seen a government primary school that works, that is sitting inside, half his feet is in water as he's learning, right? And we've seen those schools all over this country, right? Or somebody whose friend, the father is a commissioner, right? And then you wake up in the newspaper and the commissioner has stolen money and that money is in his child's bank account.
See,
right?
the way the commissioner...
The point I'm making...
Why the commissioner stole money in the first place is because there's character deficit.
No,
it's the same thing.
No, systems.
He would not have stolen money. The problem we have in the country is value erosion.
Nigerians are not inherently bad people. If we were, we wouldn't do well when we go to places where things work.
All right.
So, okay?
Let us
inherently bad
Let us
people.
drive this home. Just a minute, Kadaria.
There are guardrails.
DJ Kadaria.
Nation building is not rocket science.
Just hold it for a minute.
Don't let anybody tell you it is.
We're going to...
There are fundamental and foundational principles.
We're going to get some questions and input from our viewers. Remember to use the hashtag TVC Town Square, tag at TVC News NG on X, and at Nifemi Oguntoye. We're also going to get questions from the audience shortly. But I want us to drive this home because in a short while, we're going to start taking questions, and we just have about 10 more minutes to go. I want us to begin to drive this home as to what we need to do differently. For instance, now, passports have doubled in price. The minister mentioned that we can get it in 7 days. In all honesty, I think that the process has gotten better, but how many Nigerians can afford it? I talked about I've not been able to renew my license, my driver's license for 8 months. All of these experiences contribute to who a Nigerian is and how Nigerians perceive their country. If citizenship is a contract, are we breaking it? And what do you think we must do differently in such a way that Nigerians can begin to appreciate the quality of leadership that they have?
Now, let me, if we keep taking, it's good to calibrate issues and then take them by their strands in an eclectic fashion. But I don't think that we have the time and the space to do that. So in coasting home, I want us to emphasize the issue of leadership. I'm listening attentively to some of the statements that have been made by this distinguished panel. We tend to collectivize responsibility. I know there's collective responsibility. I know that citizens also have their own responsibility. However, leadership is the driver of a country. Leadership is like a head. In one of Shivabamba Awolowo's book, he talks about the character and the characteristics of leadership. And he identifies something that is very important. He talks about a leader having the mental magnitude to chart the course. Because, let's face it, citizens have rights. And these rights are enshrined in the law. But in reality, citizens have to be shown the path to follow by leadership. Okay? And so we can talk about passports, you can talk about all whatever. So the leadership of the country must, do something urgent about our country. The people have a role to play. Let me just give you an example. Every day I hear about people being slaughtered, seeing this, in the social media and all that. And these pictures are real. They are real. And, military forces are being mobilized and all that. death is final. And people are being killed all over the country. Now, the president of the country, was interfacing with some people and he said, look, if I have to bring state police, I'll bring it. Why must the president procrastinate over that? When what is facing us now is whether there will be mass gun ownership, where people can defend themselves in their lands. Villages are being ravaged. Human beings are being slaughtered. So if they get killed and Nigeria is fixed tomorrow, how does that fix their lives that have been lost? We don't have the time. We don't have it. So if you have to, as a leader, look at Nigeria and say that we've had this military all over the country now, there's internal security operations. But these killings are going on. So what do we have to do that is different from what we are doing before? It's not about a National Security Council meeting. NSA, come. It's not about that. So you have to do something different. And on state police, for example, those who were the most vociferous against it, including Obasanjo, governors, everybody has said, we need it. Why then do you have to hesitate and think that perhaps the state police, elections are coming, it will be unwieldy, there will be, prevalence of forces all over the place and all that.
You think that is what's delaying action on it?
I'm not saying that's what is delaying it. But I'm saying that on the security issue in this country, you need to do something bold, fundamental, serious, urgent.
Indeed.
Because people are being killed.
Mr. Akewa.
Okay? So I think that it's about leadership. I listen a lot about, people talking about, yes, followers have their own to do. And, who is a leader? A leader is also a follower. I listen to all that. But I'm saying that those who get to the position of leadership need to exercise
your time is up.
The position of leadership.
We have 5 more minutes before we take questions. I want to hear you.
I've tried to,
and I want to propose solutions, because we have just 5 minutes to wrap this up.
I'm proposing straight on, head on. I've tried to look at the trajectory of Nigeria, the Nigerian story. And I've attempted, on an armchair basis, some historical analysis and try to trace where did we start going wrong. And, nations actually rise, they say, and fall on leadership. But I beg to disagree. I would say nations actually rise and fall on systems. The systems we had that made Nigeria a working state, I think those systems have
leadership
eroded.
is important too.
Hey, we'll come back to
Look
this.
at America.
But let's come back to the system. And one of the major systems that is responsible for why we are where we are today is the educational system. I think the educational system in Nigeria has been bastardized. I think that we have not paid as much budgetary allocation, budgetary commitment, and true purpose and true sense of sincerity to the educational system and the educational sector. Now, when you look at the standard of education that most of us here, we're brought up with, the kind of quality of education. You look at the kind of quality of tertiary system we did have, where we attracted professors, we attracted lecturers from abroad, teaching in our primary universities, teaching in our second generation universities, and you ask yourself, is that the case today? Definitely, the answer is no. Now, you come back to that same system, and you discover that the system, the educational system, is so much too much being commercialized, and there is no actual reward and compensation for those that work in there. So I think if we address that issue, we can begin to put Nigeria on the path of recovery.
Indeed. 1 minute, one solution.
I agree with what was said about leadership. And that's why I was sort of very passionate about emphasizing people need to be able to take responsibility. If they've asked for a job and they've got the job, then they need to just get on with it. So because he's talked about leadership, I don't want to do that. But that's not to say that I don't recognize the nuances that mean that we as citizens also have responsibility. And my charge to these young people is to really educate themselves about the danger of identity politics, and to understand that identity politics steals from them. it steals from them the ability to organize. It steals for them the ability to unite and actually face a common enemy. And so if there's anything that I want them to take away from this, is to resist the temptation to interpret everything that they see, read, experience through the lens of identity, whether that is religious identity, whether that is ethnic identity. And to think in terms of if the poor people of Zamfara could get together with the poor people of Ekiti, and get together with the poor people of Okigwe, are they not likely to be more powerful in demanding change than if they allowed politicians to continue to knock their heads
and divide them along ethnic lines?
Divide them along ethnic lines. Because when they are in Abuja, they are not tribal. I hope you know. They are not. When they are busy doing what we here they are doing with the national cake. The issue of where they come from is very
Let me bring
rare.
Mr. Onilu in so I can get his practical steps.
Yeah, okay, so I will still go back to the issue of who is a Nigerian. And a badly brought up child will become parent one day. He cannot offer what he does not have because he also was badly brought up. If our values have eroded over the decades, so whoever we are producing as leaders also emerge from that society where there's that deficit in character. And when you get to leadership position, you are not going to meet anything there that will straighten you up if you are crooked. So we must take the whole of society together to ensure that henceforth we put in place structure, value system that everybody is nurtured on. So wherever you find yourself, whether in leadership or any position, then you're going to exhibit that. You can provide a fantastic road. The Third Mainland Bridge was done recently. Within 2 months, somebody climbed there and removed the railings to sell.
Character deficit.
That character deficit.
No, you don't know that. No. If the choice was between that and paying hospital bill for his daughter, you don't know that.
There's no excuse for criminality.
Absolutely.
But let me say that I'm not excusing anybody. But I'm just saying the whole of society, there must be value system put in place.
We're due for a break
and
now.
Everybody must subscribe to that. And so we must have parameters to hold ourselves responsible wherever you find yourself, even as a leader. You get the point. But so today, we have you refer to school. The question I will ask you is, pump money into education to go and learn what? What is the curriculum? Does it teach morals?
The curriculum is evolving.
Exactly.
At the university level, we're working on that.
We used to have civic education those days. It was yanked off.
We had history. It was yanked off.
It was yanked off.
We're due for a break now. We probably will come back and take more questions. Once again, please put your hands together for my panelists. When we return after this break, we'll take questions from you. Remember to use the hashtag TVC Town Square, tag at TVC News NG on X, and at Nifebi Oguto. We'll also be hearing from our audience. Stay with us, everyone. Don't go away.
On the 1st of October 1960, the British flag was lowered and Nigeria's flag hoisted. The electrifying atmosphere signaled the takeoff as an independent nation. Today, we pay tribute to our courageous and patriotic freedom fighters who rose above ethnicity, religion, political and tribal sentiments to break the shackles of colonialism in Nigeria. As we celebrate our 65th independence anniversary, we appreciate the effort of our former leaders while commending His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR for sustaining Nigeria's unity and for ensuring a consistent progress in all facets of our economy. While they see our over 250 ethnic groups, the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria see one indivisible entity because our strength is in our diversity. Congratulations, Nigeria. This message is powered by Dr. Musa Muhammad, National President, Region. Uproad Super!
Guys, food is ready!
Suitable for jollof rice, stew, spaghetti, and yam portage. Cooked to impress.
great quality. Now with the new look.
On the last segment of the TVC Town Square, we'll turn our attention to our audience for questions. You too can ask your questions online on X using the hashtag TVC News Town Square, tag at TVC News NG and at Nifemi Oguntoye. Thank you for staying the course, everyone. Please put your hands together for yourselves. A very vibrant audience that we have. So just 30 seconds, your name, your designation, and your question. Please go ahead.
All right, so my name is Daniel. I'm a final year student of the University of Lagos. And I'd like to say first that perhaps if we're finding it too difficult to define who a Nigerian is, maybe we can start by asking who a Nigerian is not. And my question as well goes thus. I'm passionate about my country, Nigeria. However, since I've been born, it's sad that I've only watched the country, get worse year after year. So why would I, rather stay in a country where I'm still struggling to find my identity, to define who it is or what it is to be a Nigerian, than perhaps go somewhere, and I'm saying this because of the whole issue, the joke about the $100 million, right? Then go somewhere where I have the liberty to be who I really want to be. And I think this is the question that a lot of us, young people are also asking, and why we would take flight at every opportunity that we find. So why would I rather not do that and, stay back here if, as I've seen over time, things have just continued to get worse and worse. So yes.
All right. Next person, your name, your designation, and your question. Please go ahead. The lady in black.
Hello, my name is Yomi Sikiru Habiba, and I am a 300 level student of mass communication in the University of Lagos. So my question, I'm just going to go straight forward to my question. I want to ask what role education and civic engagement can play in promoting a shared sense of nationhood and citizenship.
Can you take that again and raise your voice a little so we can hear you?
Okay. I'm going to go straight to the question. Yeah. My question is, what role can education and civic engagement play in promoting both a shared sense of nationhood and citizenship?
All right. Next person, please.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm David Oluwagbami by name.
You have to raise your voice so we can hear you from here.
Are you shy?
Are you shy?
No, sir.
All right, please go ahead.
Okay, so I am Oluwagbami David by name, a student of University of Lagos, 200 level mass communication. So my question goes as thus: why is it that after getting or attaining independence, we have not been able, we've been going from grass to grace or grace to grass? Every year it is supposed to be better, but it seems we are going downward in the slope and in the chart. Do you feel neo-colonialism is affecting us in any way? That's my question.
All right.
Thank you.
Next person.
Hello. My name is Princess Joseph. I am a recent alumnus of the University of Lagos and an author. I have two questions, and I'll be quick about it. I was born in Nigeria, and because I love Nigeria, I would love to be Nigerian long enough to have my children identify as Nigerians. Now, one of the factors that, bring about the spur of division is the seeming lack of equity in governance. I'm Igbo. And whilst we've had over 16 presidents in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we've had lesser Igbo presidents than any other tribe. What structures can we put in politics, or in democracy that ensures that every tribe is served equally as one? And then two, I bought the second business last week, and I paid the total sum of 130,000 naira minus charges to register the business. And the first business I registered, I was 3 years ago. I paid, I think, a total sum of 25,000 naira minus legal charges to register that particular business. Nowadays, it's not new that there's like inflation in the economy. The prices are high. I recently got a property in Ibadan, and I found that the price for fencing, the 10-acre property had skyrocketed in comparison to the ones that I fenced
so what's the
3
question?
years ago.
So we'll come over.
What policies can we put in business that seem to serve Nigerians? It just feels like I have a country that feels comfortable.
Policies to put in business to serve Nigerians. I think we got the
please.
question. Let's have
Thank you.
Let's have your name and your question.
My name is Oluwaseun. I'm a PhD student at University of Lagos. My question is simple. We have been talking about the Nigeria identity and creating a Nigeria identity. We talk about the cultured America, the cultured UK, and this directly to the National Orientation Agency because they have that responsibility. What is the Nigerian National Orientation Agency doing to make sure that we have a cultured Nigeria? What policies and how are you working with the presidency? Because like we all know, I'm a PR specialist. Like we all know, it is not just about narratives alone. The narratives will take you far. But what are the policies that NOA is advising the presidency to take? And how are they taking it? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for them. Let's see how far we can go with this. The first one has to do with why do I stay in Nigeria if I'm still struggling to find myself? A lot of Nigerians, like Kadara mentioned, leave the country and then they become so productive and so patriotic. Do you think it's a mindset thing, or you think the system there is actually more favorable?
You know, sometimes I wish that young people could have the opportunity to travel outside of Nigeria first on excursion and look at those countries, you know, that they wish to go and let them decide whether they want to come to Nigeria or not. I bet that many want to come back to Nigeria. And I'm telling you this.
After visiting other countries.
I'm telling you.
They don't seem to agree with you, though.
They may not agree. But they by and by, many of them who have the opportunity to travel, many of the people that have succeeded, you know, going overseas, are not necessarily people who get educated in Europe or America. Many of them get educated here. Many of the doctors that are being recruited out of Nigeria got educated in Nigeria. Look at the manpower
properly
loss. Educated here.
So what do you think the problem is, and how do we fix it?
The problem is that, you know, our country is going through a great deal of economic hardship and stress. And a lot of people are escapist about it. Think that once they get out of the country, life will get better. Doctors, professionals, bankers sell all that they have just to emigrate. Only for some of them to get there and think that, no, it's not
green on it
like that. So I think that we can continue to talk about fixing our country.
All right.
Opportunities are still in Nigeria. Many of them untapped. Okay?
That's
and I think that the more we fix our society, the more our society will become more welcome to young people who will no longer be restive about traveling out of the country. Not just as an example, an uncle. And that's it. You say it here. You see a lot of Nigerians going overseas, elite, to buy property, to buy houses. How many foreign leaders do you see, parliamentarians, anybody do you see come to Nigeria to buy property in Nigeria? Just start from there.
Mr. Ikewa, what role can education and civic engagement play in promoting a shared sense of nationhood?
Well, basically, education should be the major catalyst for socialization, helping citizens, helping indigents understand the dynamics and the mechanics of how their country works. And it should be designed, the system, the curriculum should be designed in such a way that it helps citizens to actually love their country, to pledge an allegiance to their country. But what we found out in the Nigerian situation is that the system itself seems to be very, very parochial. The admission processes, for instance, could be parochial. You find situations whereby people are admitted on the basis of, where they come from, like Kadira loved to say. And to an extent, in some areas, on the basis of who they know. But we can't run away from the fact that we have committed educators in Nigeria. And I would tell you that all my education up to the doctorate level has been in Nigeria. And I can tell you for sure that Nigeria is the best place to get the best education anywhere in the world.
All right. Awesome. So Kadira, you had...
I would want to just, take a cue back to what...
In a minute if you can.
Yeah,
please.
in a minute.
Yes.
Why do we... Okay, I think it's you that asked the question. Why do we have professionals, leaving this country? Why do we have the best of our doctors leaving this country? And I was in the General Hospital about last week. I won't tell you why. Maybe I'll tell you that behind the doors. And I was able to observe a lot of Nigerian doctors. And these people work night and day round the clock to save lives, to give life and all of that. And I asked myself, are these the people, when you convert the basis or when you convert the value of their salaries, that the country is paying some $200, $300 every month? And I was moved to tears. I think the real problem why a lot of Nigerians are leaving, and I hope that we can take this message back to Abuja, is that the reward and compensation system in Nigeria is skewed. We need to have our people properly rewarded and compensated for all the education they have gotten and for all the hard work they do.
And just to put it in the right perspective, I don't think it's just doctors, right? I think that...
lecturers are leaving, but I'm not leaving. At least I'm not leaving yet.
I'm talking about the welfare, yes. Well, I thought you said you were older than living before.
So that brings us to the Nigerian paradox.
All right, let's move to the next
Good things
question.
are happening in Nigeria, and some not too good things are happening.
Kadaria.
So we must be able to reconcile
right.
the good
and
not too good, so that these younger ones coming behind can say Nigeria, we hail thee, and give their best to Nigeria and become more altruistic than they are individualistic.
The question
Until
here
we get to that
says,
point,
yes,
well,
is neocolonialism affecting us?
I believe, and I'm going to sort of take a leap, the answer is yes. We are caught up in shifting geopolitics. I genuinely believe that one of the reasons why insecurity has become as bad as it has in Nigeria has a lot to do with the killing of Gaddafi by the United States. That opened the floodgates into the Sahel. We have arms now uncontrollably traveling through the Sahel. And we have borders with so many countries, right? And which is why I am really worried about this country. And I keep talking, even if we were all united and pushing, this will be a very difficult time.
Yeah.
So imagine trying to fight both internal and external problems when your heads are scattered. And this is why I get really angry with people who push out identity politics that are based on either tribe or religion or whatever. Because what you are essentially doing is you're weakening yourself and you're allowing things that you should be facing together to actually come and divide you. Congo is not too far from where northern Nigeria is at the moment because we have everything. Africa as a continent is rich. You guys, you don't understand. We have everything. We can trade with ourselves and we'll be fine. We don't need America. We don't need Europe. We don't even need everything that we need to build a good life for our people is on this continent. We've been blessed with it. But somehow, we are trading more with people overseas than we are with our neighbors next door. And it's deliberate. The divide and rule tactic is a tactic that has been enjoyed by colonialists for a very long time. And we're entering a new phase. Alliances are changing. People are shifting. I think we're at the beginning of the end of empire. I think we're seeing the pains of a collapsing empire, which is the United States. And it's going to take a lot of people down with it because history has told us that that is what happens. So even if we were organized and together, we will feel some of this pain.
Right.
But imagine the consequences for a people who keep fighting themselves.
All right. That's our time. There are 3 more questions. I'm just going to read them out and I'll see what you can make of them in 2 minutes. We talked about ethnic divides. And then there's a lady in the audience who is saying she's noticed there have been lesser Igbo presidents in our history. What can we do about that? She talked about policy in business that can serve Nigerians better. And then what is your agency doing to have a cultured Nigerian?
Thank you very much. There's enough blame to go around if we want to continue to talk about blame. So, but we realized that 2 years ago that the first thing we need to do in Nigeria is to first do away with all these superficial issues of Yoruba, Igbo, whatever. So, but how do we become, that nation that we all look forward to? We studied what has happened over the decades since independence. And we studied what is going on in other parts of the world. Why do they have culture? I'll throw something to the audience. You watch movies, right? Has any of you watched an American movie where America lost in that movie? If you have one, whether they are fighting the Arabs, the Russia, or people from space, America will win. Why? It is ingrained in their system. They say they are exceptional. So even as a movie maker, when you are writing your script, it is there in you that America cannot lose in the movie. That's the way you nurture people.
Actors don't die.
Mentality. So what did we do? We invited people from different sectors of the society, the youth, the people from the academia, the civil society, women, and we for over 6 months did all this study and came up with what we call the Nigerian Identity Project. So the Nigerian Identity Project is expressed through what we call the National Values Charter. Because we know the issue with us is value erosion. In those days, in this country, you may not have read it in any book. In this same country, and that applies to every culture, in a community, as a farmer, you put your produce by the side of the road, use some trees to indicate the prices, and then you go back to the farm. And passerby will pick the required number and give the exact amount there for you. This same country, this same Nigeria, where we care for ourselves. Somebody alluded to when a youth misbehave, the whole of community handle that.
Indeed.
So we came up with National Value Charter. A charter is an agreement. Agreement between the leaders and the followers. We found out, as Kadaria has said, that over the years, it has always been sacrifice, pointing towards the citizens. What about the leaders? So we felt it takes two to tango. But you cannot say leaders cannot do it alone without the followers. And followers cannot change Nigeria without the leaders. So the two sides must come to the table and be committed to that.
Right.
So that's why it's a charter. That's why it's an agreement. And so...
You have 1 more minute.
Okay, so we have what we call the Nigerian Promise. I'll share the document before I leave this place, when we finish the program. So we have the Nigerian Promise, just like we have the American Dream, just as we have the Ubuntu Declaration in South Africa, just as we have the Kesin of Japan. So we have the Nigerian Promise. What does this country promise all of us? It must be spelled out. So when you come to me as the DG of NOA, you can hold me responsible on those parameters and say you are not a good Nigerian because 1, 2, 3 things are missing in you, and it is already there as part of our identity system. So we also have what we call the citizen codes. That is the code of conduct that you expect from Nigerian citizens. It is well defined. So when somebody is taken to the hospital, because he has to apply that code, he must respond as a human being, not just because there is law. If you go to the police station, you get that duty of care in the police station because they are human beings and they are Nigerians and they have a responsibility towards you. So we have all of this, and we took it to the Federal Executive Council last year, and with the leadership of the president, every single item was approved. And if you listen, just a month ago, the first item, because after you create like I refer to Bible or Quran, after you have the Bible or Quran for Christianity and Islam, you must also have the churches and the mosque where you are going to nurture adherents. So you must have institutions in the country where Nigerians are nurtured on the values system that we have created. So these institutions are 7 of them, and they were all approved by the Federal Executive Council. One of it is what he referred to as education. Those days we have civic education, now we don't have. Now, in this new academic session, it is now compulsory in Nigeria for you from primary 1 to end of your primary school, secondary school, and when you're doing your general study in the university, you learn about what it means to be a Nigerian. So a new subject has been introduced, and it's kicking off this September. you know, to
I think we clap to that. We have to anchor it now. We have to go down.
Please, let me just write it off. So that is one of the 7 things that have been created.
All right.
So every Nigerian, no matter what route you are taking up, you meet the institution that is nurturing you. Right. Somebody said things are getting worse all the time. You know about the person who said he has a reason to want to leave the country because things keep getting worse. I would say no, it is not true. You are a student of the University of Lagos. I also graduated from the University of Lagos.
All right.
When I was in school, I would go to Bariga, which is not far from the school, to pick up what they call West African Law Report from the publisher and put it on my head and trek all the way from Bariga to Lagos Island, from chamber to cell, so that I could sustain myself in school. If I had student loan that time, I would not have suffered that much.
It seems we're going to have to bring back Mr. Onilu for this conversation. But we have to wrap it up. Can we put our hands together for my panelists? Larry Onilu, Director General, National Orientation Agency; Kadaria Ahmed, veteran journalist, media entrepreneur; Jitio Ogunye, seasoned legal practitioner; Kenneth Akenwa, lecturer at the University of Lagos. Once again, can we put our hands together for them? Thank you so much. Tonight, we ask a simple question, simple but profound. Who was a Nigerian at 65? We've seen that identity is not just about a passport or constitution. It is beyond that. It is about dignity, belonging, and also the kind of quality service that we receive from leadership. The people who danced on the streets in 1960 believed they were building a nation worth celebrating. 65 years later, the task is unfinished. But as we've heard today, it's not impossible. Whether through law, storytelling, or leadership, the challenge before us is to build a Nigeria where being a citizen is not a burden, but a badge of honor. And that's the work of today. It's a work for all of us. This has been the Independence Day edition of the TVC Town Square series. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Nifebi Oguto. I want to say a big thank you to our vibrant audience. A round of applause for yourselves. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. We'll see you again soon. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you. Saz, thank you for coming.